Have you wondered, why does the Roblox explosion system suck? The player can be damaged through walls, you can't change the particle effects, and there's no option for turning the friendly fire off. However, if you use my custom explosion system, you can easily swap the particle effects. It won't damage the player through walls, and you can turn off the friendly fire. You will also have damage detection based on distances, and the system is more performant. So I'll be showing you the exact step-by-step process of how you can create a robust system like this. Alright, let's get started. So go to Toolbox and go to My Models. And if you have gotten the model from the description below, which is basically the explosion set, which was made by Chamberlain. So anyways, drag the model and put it right here. So basically we are looking for the particles, and when we enable it, look at that. This looks amazing, right? So we can take these particles and create a folder called particles, and then paste it right here. Bam, look at that. These are all the particles that we need. And then we will also create a folder called sounds. We're going to copy these specific sounds only for explosion. And we can now just delete the model. We don't need it at all. So for our next part, we can just create a folder called modules. Module script, explosion, and in here we are going to rename this to explosion just for communication purposes. And now what we are going to do is we'll focus on structuring it as in object-oriented programming manner. So explosion dot underscore index equal to explosion. Then we'll create a function called explosion dot new self variable, which contains a meta table of this specific table, and then we are going to return this table. Next, what we are going to do is we're going to create a function called explosion explode. So we are going to use only one function that is going to be used in the script. So this is going to be the only function that we are going to use it for the script. So now we have to make some parameters. So basically we need team color, then this is going to be a brick color, and then we are going to create a parameter for origin, which is going to be where the explosion is going to be placed at. And then we are going to check the radius of the explosion that will indicate a damage. Oh, thank you, Roblox. So we'll call it max damage, and then we'll create minimum damage. This would be useful for our radial based damage. So basically that is damage based on distances. And then what we are going to do is we will create a raycast parameter for explosion. So I'll call it explosion parameters. We'll call it raycast parameters. So we got all the parameters we need. Now we can store it in a self variable. So team color equal to team color, then self dot origin equal to origin, then radius equal to radius, then we'll do as follows. So after doing this, we are going to create another self variable which is going to be used in the future, which is going to be used afterwards. So I'll just space it out just for organization purposes. So now we are done with the .new function. Now we have to focus on the explode function. So what we need now is that we need these folders and put it inside the explosion module. So after that, we can create three global variables that we need to create the system. So the players service that we are going to use in the future, then the particles that we are going to need, and then the sounds folder, which also we're gonna need. So in this explode method, we're going to focus on the explosion visuals. So we're going to call it visuals, and I'm gonna call a task.spawn function so that we don't mess up the damage system. So we are going to create the explosion part. So instance.new part. Then we are going to call it explosion, and then we're going to call it explosion part dot anchored equal to true. Then explosion part dot can collide equal to false, and then explosion part dot can query, which is also equal to false. So we are doing this so that whenever you use it in a game, then you can use it for if you made a gun, when the player tries to shoot through the explosion, think as if the explosion part is something that is hittable. So that would ruin the player's immersion. So that's why I added that. And then we can of course make it can touch false, and then what we can do is we can make explosion part dot position the explosion part's position to be to the origin, and then the final touch is going to be, so last thing is that we are going to make the part transparent. So basically we are going to put it as 1, and then we are going to parent it to the workspace. So it's going to be around here. Now what we are going to do is we are going to create a for loop for all the particles that are going to be used for the explosion visuals. So if particle is a particle emitter, or particle is a point light, then so this is the if statement we are going to add. So you might need a point light to make the explosion look more realistic. So that's why I added that. So now I'm going to add a local variable called clone particle, which is particle clone. That's it. And then we are going to use the clone particle and then parent it into the explosion part. So basically we are going to use the table dot insert function. So from here we are going to use the table clone particles table. So clone self dot clone particles, then clone particle. So the next thing we are going to do is that we are going to enable the particles by just using the table clone particles do v dot enable equal to true. So basically this table is making it easier to enable and disable the particle. So basically I already have set up what are the particles are going to be, and I don't have to always use the if statement all the time to enable and disable. So that's why. And after 0.3 seconds, we're going to disable it. And you may think that's it, but no, we are going to add sounds. We are going to add a variable called chosen random sound. So sounds get children, then math dot random. It is one hashtag sounds get children. Yeah, and then we are going to current the chosen sound into the explosion part. Then we are going to play the sound. Oh, there's no auto cutter, so we can just make it sound. Yeah, much better. So this is going to play the sound, and this is where your particle is going to emit, and then it's going to be disabled. So we will also add a task.delay function about 3 seconds. So basically I'm removing this explosion part, and we can also empty the table at the same time. So after all of that, we can check the visuals by creating a script called init. So local explosion module equal to require script.parent.modules.explosion, and then we'll create a variable called new explosion, which is explosion module.new, and then we will add all the parameters we need to add. So basically that would be brick color.new, really red. I'll take it as an example for team color. We'll use that in future somewhere. And then we have to decide the origin point, which is vector.new 0050, 50. So the origin point is going to be right above somewhere here. And now we are going to decide the radius. Let's make it as 30 and the damage as 60 and the minimum damage as 20. Make sure that this value is not greater than the max damage value, because it will error the code instead. So next we are going to look at this parameter. So just call it raycast.params.new, just in case if you want to add something that is necessary to be added. And then after about 10 seconds, we're going to use the explode method. That that we have created in the module. Now we are done with that. We can just test the game for now. Wait for it. And look at that, that's the explosion. So now we are done with the visuals. Now we can directly work on the damage system. So we are going to create a for loop where we are going to loop through all the players in the game and going to find their character and their primary part, which is not equal to nil. We can do that to identify. And one more important thing is that we can add player dot team color equal to self dot team color, then return end. So we basically added this if statement so that we could turn off friendly fire. So for now we can just add a print statement to check if this is working or not. So is in player dot name is in the same team. Now we are going to create a variable called player.character itself, and then we're going to find the target position, which is basically from the primary part. So the primary part is actually humanoid part. So basically we are creating a raycast for this. Self.origin.unit into self.radius. So we are using this as our radius, and then raycast, which is going to be called explosion cast. So workspace raycast, then self.origin, then we are going to use this ray direction variable, and then finally we are going to use the explosion parameters. Or the next thing we are going to do is that we will add explosion cast. We are going to see if explosion cast is there. Then we are going to see if explosion cast has hit an instance. Explosion cast has hit something, then we will check if it has a humanoid. After that, we are going to create a variable called hit, which is explosion cast dot instance. We are going to create a humanoid. We are going to do hit dot parent dot humanoid. We can just use it to minus the health just by doing self dot max damage. For now, this is just temporary, just to test it. We will afterwards add radial damage, which is basically damage based on distances. So what we are going to do is we will add a task.wait of 5 seconds in a while true do loop. And I'm going to put the explode method. Before we test the game, we also need to add something else also, which is a player's method called, we're going to use the player's method called get service and then we're going to create a function called player added connect function player, and then player dot character added on connect function character. So we are going to create a for loop by looping through the character descendants and find if it is a base part, and if the base part is named as handle, then we can just make it so that we can just make the can collide false, and then okay, the explosion is going to ignore the accessories which will cause hitbox issues. After this, we are going to play test. Oh, so let's see, and look at that, it actually hit me. Okay, I think the Roblox damage system is kind of bugged, and I think we have ran into an error. So basically we have to clone this. Sorry about that. And now that we know the damage system is working, we don't have to remove it right now, but we have to work on the radial damage. So local function called check distance, then position 1 and position 2, vector 3 and vector 3. Just for communication purposes. Then return position 1 and position 2 dot magnitude. So this function will check the distance between the two positions. So now we are going to work on the radial damage function, which needs the origin, the target position, which has a vector 3, and the max damage number, and then minimum damage number. So after that, we are going to check the distances between the two positions, that is origin and the target position. Then we're going to calculate the damage, which is max damage minus the calculated distance. After that, we will do final calculations, which is math.clamp and the calculated damage. Then we're going to add minimum damage and maximum damage. Last and finally, we are going to return the values. So if you want to implement this, we can just go to local final damage, which is radial damage, self dot origin, then target position, self dot max damage, then self dot minimum damage. After that, we can just replace it and remove the temporary comment. Okay, after that we will check if the calculations are correct or not. So we will just print it out. Now we can test the game. Well, it damaged me if I go a little far. Look, so previously I got 56 damage when I was kind of near the particles, and when I gone to a little far, I got this much damage. So basically the radial damage is working. now that it's working, we can check if the teams thing is working. Oh, I already created a team called Red. You have seen that in introduction. So let me change this to really red and test the game to show that the friendly fire turns off. See, as you can see, the particle is not damaging because I'm in the same team. Because my team color is as same as here. And lastly, what we need to check is that we need to create a part so that for now I'll just change the color to something pastel violet. So I want to see if the explosion goes through the wall or not. I mean if it damages through the wall. So if I'm here, it should damage me. It actually damaged me. Yeah, it actually damaged me. I don't know why, but the Roblox health bar is a little bit buggy right now in studio. Anyways, one thing I need to tell you something. If you're creating an FPS game, which you are going to use this module, and if you are looking for creating a objective system, you can just click on the video on the screen